Well, hello and welcome to that favorite hour of the day. I'm sure by now you've finished your dinner, you're relaxing and waiting for PM Express to see what's going to happen. Well, today I have a very exciting and show to look forward to. What are we talking about? We're looking at the politics of student politics. Now, most of the time we say, the grown-up generation is so corrupted that we look back to see that, our children, those coming out of universities, will take up the mantle, rewrite the menu or the manual, rewrite the manual and work with it as clearly the one we're using, can see the heads of tail about it. Most people have said that the woes of Ghana is in the Constitution, that the Constitution does not allow the country to grow. So you hope that there will be a generation that comes, sit, be bold, and rewrite or adjust it so that the country can move forward. So you look at those in the tertiary institutions, they will come and be closer to the corridors of power. However, it is said that by the time they come out of school, they are even more corrupted than we are, and they just come and take the mantle and do worse than what we have done. And so many, the list is endless of student leaders who graduate straight into mainstream politics. Is the next crop coming, going to be the same? Indeed, with holding positions in NUS, as a National Union of Ghana students, while they are holding a position in NUS, how do they get it? The politics involved before they even get there. Are they even corrupted by the time they get their positions? That's what we are looking at. That's what we are talking to see. If the generation before us, we can have a glimmer of hope, if they will inspire us. That's what we are talking about. When I come back, I have two fine students in here. My name is Nana Sakwa, the fourth chief of the famous Little Republic of Akwebo Dumasa. When I come, we're talking the politics, student politics. Come on. Thank you very much for staying. Politics of student politics. And I have right next to me is Richard Osei-Yeboah. Richard is President, National Health Student Association of Ghana. Very important position to hold. National health, the health of students, I believe, should be on the front burner all the time. And then I have Richmond Kodia, who is a Student Activist of the Year, 2016-2017. He won the National Students Award. Richard, which uni are you?
I'm National Health Institution.
No, which school?
University of Ghana.
Okay, University of Ghana. And then Richmond?
Well, I'm a GI.
You're GI, yeah? Okay. Good. Let me start with you, Richmond. The politics of student politics. I mean, how much politics is at that level?
Thank you very much. And we want to use this opportunity to appreciate our acceptance in this studio to talk about things that concern students who are the next generation, going to be the leaders of the next generation. And we also want to use this medium to also thank our cherished viewers for watching us at this time of the night. Now, going into student, the politics of student politics, I think one would want to define who a student is, because sometimes people rather would want to use years or age to qualify one as a student. But a student should be somebody who is offering either an academic certificate or a professional one. When we define it that way, then we would even have people who are 60 years who could be defined as students, so that we'll not just be looking at some young men and ladies who are in their 20s and are students. So if we are defining it that way, then people right from the primary to the secondary to the university, that's the first degree level, even at master's level and the PhD level, are all students. And that is where some of us even come in, because I know people who are 60 years who are, pursuing academic laurels, and they are also considered as students. Now, having addressed that, student politics, there are a lot of factors that comes to play when we talk about student politics, because even the politics that we are talking about would want to define it very well, because we can have partisan student politics, we can have tribal politics in the students' arena, we can have people who try to use or exploit the religious side of people when it comes to politics on campuses. There are some who would go to the institutional level of politics. That is especially when we come to the national level of student affairs. With regards to the National Union of Ghana students, for instance, there are institutional politics when it comes to voting or electing leaders. Again, we have block agenda, where people from, let's say, people from NASAC, where he belongs to, when somebody is contesting for a position from that camp, then all the people in the health fraternity would want to support such a student. We also have GRASAC, which is the Graduate Students Association of Ghana. And when people are contesting for positions in NUCs, then people in GRASAC would also want to front their candidate. Again, we have people in USAG, which is the University Students Association of Ghana, which is the people who are pursuing first degrees. They also would want to support their own when it comes to NUCs. And NUCs here is the mother body. Therefore, anybody from any of these 6 blocks, there are 6 blocks under NUCs, can contest for a position in NUCs. So there are many factors. Then comes in the politicians. And the politicians here, I would want to categorize them into internal politicians and the external politicians. Where internal politicking is the groups we have on campus, such as TESCON, which is for the students who are in the NPP, and then we have TEEN, that's the NDC students, and then we can have even for CPP and the likes. And they also, once somebody owns up to contest for a position, they want to see their own emerge victorious. And so that is where the internal politicking also comes in, so that if you are not on the ticket of any of these strong groups, then your fortunes are very limited. Again, we can also look at the external politicians, who are people in the national politics who would want to also come into the student affairs.
We'll come to that. Let me come to Richard, because Richard is the president of National Health Students. So you've contested. So you are in the thick of things. How did you get it? How did you lobby?
Well, just as my brother started, the politics of student politics this time is very interesting. And then it's not so different from the national politics we know, but just that we take things a little slow, unlike the national level where things are a little aggressive. But taking my issue as an example, as you asked how I got it, how I lobbied, to contest for a position as a student leader at a national level is not something...
it's not child's play.
Seriously. We are talking about an association with national coverage. We have delegates from Tamale, like UDS, all the campuses scattered around. You have to reach out to all these delegates. And then the interesting aspect is delegates are not only looking at your message. At the end of the day, they are looking at you for support, to support them, pay their capitation, pay their dues, at times even feed them. So when you consider all these and the expenses that come in, and as a student who is just offering himself or herself to serve the students, it becomes a little difficult to raise funds to support yourself. So the dynamics there change a little, and you have to look elsewhere. That's where the external politicians, my brother mentioned, come in. And at times, you don't even approach the politicians when they realize that you are vying for this position that is of interest to them, and you are going to be somebody who can kind of push their agenda, or somehow they find some ways and means to get to you, either through your campaign managers, through your friends, or people who are part of your team. And the support comes in various ways. But it depends on how you also link up with them, and how you receive the support with the kind of intention they attach to the support they are going to grant you. So with my case, I didn't have direct support from anybody. I funded myself with my friends, and but in previous elections, there were instances where we had to contact some few people for support, and at the end of the day, we have to appreciate whatever they give to you, and then the appreciation is also in various ways. Either you have to push the agenda at the student level, or so many ways.
It's getting much interesting, and I am taking a quick break and come back. So we find out that, number one, start where the whole thing starts, and then we graduate into the two big major tribes, as the Professor Dai will call them, the two big tribes, the NPP, the NDC. It starts from there. Our own student pressure, you need to fund it. Where do you fund it? You go external. Once you go external, then the tradition begins. We're coming straight back to continue. Politics of student politics, intriguing and revealing. We'll try and see if in this show we'll throw some solutions on how we end this cycle. Sometimes when it has started rolling, it's so difficult to stop. I'm going to Richmond and come back to you. Richmond, you are the guys who say, well, if you want my vote, that's my capitation. If you want my vote, that's my registration fee. If you want my vote, that's this. He's also got something in him. He thinks, oh, as a leader, I could probably make a change, or it would be a good pass for me to slip onto mainstream politics. So there you go. There's your fees, there's your registration fee, and then the cycle just it. Is there any way in which we can probably block it, and how? Okay,
thank you very much. If we want to block these things that are creeping into student politics, then one of the ways to do that is to stop some of the financial demands on aspirants who bring out themselves to contest for position to help serve the interests of students, to advocate for them, to help with their general needs. Because the fact is, even before you get your face on the election material or on the ballot box or paper,
it's not easy.
Some payments would have gone on by then, because you'd have to, even the form that you have to buy. Sometimes the NUC's presidency, I think, it goes even up to now, I think, 1,000 Ghana cedis.
For the form?
For the forms.
From
to contest for NUC's, yes.
And they are aware that you are a student, you're not working?
Yes. So that's for the NUC's presidency. And then the other portfolios, sometimes 400 to 700 Ghana cedis. So it starts from...
But as a student, it's a lot of money. Even for workers. Some workers, that's a whole monthly salary that you're going to buy a form with.
Yes. But these are what, happened in student. I think last year it was 700 Ghana cedis for NUC's presidency, but ASU, that's the All African Students Union, which is also a student affair, but for Africa, that was 1,000 Ghana cedis. And so that's where it even starts from. Now, anybody contesting, if we indeed want to win, I'm sure you are not going to rely on social media, but would want to go to the grounds. Now look at a national election where you have all the universities in Ghana. You have more than sister universities. So you would have to travel to all these universities, meet with the leadership. When you meet with the leadership, I'm sure some, would even demand that you give them something, some money. Even sometimes before they organize themselves for you to talk to them. Even the transportational cost, the amount that you spend in traveling north and south, east and west of the country, that is another money. Sometimes we'd have to even spend time in some guest house or some comfortable rooms. So all these things are money. Then comes the vetting process, where the people who are going to vet you, sometimes some would want to even extort money from you. So that is another side. Then after crossing the vetting, after you being declared as, viable, as somebody who can contest, after your eligibility has, stood the times, then there are extra monies you have to be paying for your campaign team to be working. And then when you go for, our elections are conducted at congresses. And at congresses, you are having all the leadership of the various universities coming to vote. Now, when they come, they are supposed to pay dues. And they are supposed to also pay capitation for the Congress. For dues, if you don't pay dues, that institution cannot vote. But for capitation, if you don't pay, then you find your own accommodation, your own food, and other stuff. So that is also another thing. And sometimes each person is paying 200 Ghana cedis for capitation. So let's say an institution that is bringing, let's say, 25 students, meaning that they have to pay for each of these students. And for some institutions which are more than a campus, would have to pay for all these students. And sometimes, unfortunately, some of the leadership of these institutions come, and even when they have the money, even when they've taken the money from management to attend Congress, they would want to, benefit from you, the aspirant.
So pay something towards it.
Pay something to support their capitation or their dues. And sometimes to, of a truth, that institution, their LSRC might not be strong, so that they do not have the financial muscles to come. And you want to win. And for you to win, you must have as many people from the various institutions voting for you. So therefore, you have to fund their transportation and sometimes their feeding. So look at these numbers. And in all, sometimes we can have as many as 1,000 voters. So if you have 1,000 voters.
Even if 300 is your responsibility. Wow, wow. Now, you're the president now, Richard. Is there anything you can do to block it? Maybe everything is online, maybe without pictures, so that, candidates elsewhere don't even know who they are voting for, but they are voting for a profile, so that they can't come to you to say, look, you give me the money, because you don't know who you're voting for. But I don't know. Because otherwise, it's a vicious cycle that we are stuck in.
Well, I will start from at a point where students have to change their mindset about student leadership. They see student leadership to be a place where we make a lot of benefits, there are a lot of goodies there that we are going to enjoy. So they have to enjoy this before they give us the chance to go there. But when you come into office, you realize that there's virtually nothing there.
So the story is the same. The MPs are also saying the same thing. And the MPs are also saying the same thing.
There's nothing there. But our people think this is a place that we enrich ourselves. So they have to enrich their pockets before they give us the nod to serve them. They have to see student leadership as a platform where colleagues are offering themselves to serve them, to serve their interests, to push their agenda, to ensure that their views are protected, until they realize that we are just like them. And if any of them, like leader of delegations or any of those people who demand monies from us, is to put himself for a position and is required to go through what they subject aspirants to, I don't know how they can withstand that pressure. So they should rather look at how they can help us serve them better. If they start requesting for monies, for capitation, if you pay everything for them and you eventually get the position, they wouldn't have any moral right to put us to order in case we start misbehaving in office.
It's frightening, isn't it? Because, Richard, I mean, this is the echelons of education. This is where we all expect, you know, the finest of the finest. And if anybody is going to complain about state of government and everything, it says students, oh, now binding, yeah, the government is corrupt and everything. But, you know, these same corrupt guys up there, you know, have come through the same culture, and we are going up. There's no hope.
That's why I initially said the politics at the student level is not so different from our national politics. Just that the aggression and the kind of force we push into the national politics is a little higher compared
to the stakes. Obviously, the stakes get higher.
Yes.
So. But probably if you're going to measure the stakes and the, you know, equilibrium, it's the same.
But even at the student level, things can get serious.
Because you're always in court. Well, I mean, after every election, they're in court for the court to decide, you know, who won and who didn't win. I mean, it's fairly aggressive.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're stuck with it. We just have to accept it.
But we can find a way out of this. Just like you mentioned, if all the student associations should take advantage of this technological age and see how best we can reduce contact of aspirants, or even think about organizing Congress where we wouldn't have to converge at a point to bring all students from the various campuses, but rather get the system such that students will have chance to campaign to the delegates. But on the D-Day, everything is online. You sit on your campus, you have your delegates. Let's say University of Ghana, you have 25 delegates. You sit there, you have the system, you go and vote for the person. UDS, you don't have to travel to, let's say, down to Accra here to attend a congress where you come and demand for accommodation or feeding fee. You stay on your campus and you vote. Wherever you are, you vote, and your vote is counted. If we can have a system that we can trust, but in that regard, we also have issues because the people may start challenging the system or not trusting the system because somebody may be favored by the system or something. So if we can have a comprehensive system, we can have a way that we can put all this online and take advantage of technology and ensure that we cut the contact between delegates and then aspirants to reduce the demand for monies before they vote for them. It will reduce this kind of bribery or corruption, the perceived corruption at the student front.
Well, I mean, Richmond, I mean, so time for the reasons why you voted is obviously bought for. You've already paid for it. And I think, you know, Richard said that, you know, what moral rights have you got to come and tell me that maybe students are sleeping rough and therefore go and fight for me? Me, I've already paid for it. You know, and we are now moving, I mean, these are the next generation moving up. We're doomed, aren't we?
No, not at all. I believe there are solutions to this. And then even to start with, let me also put on record that it is not every aspirant or leader who had to buy.
We are generalizing because we can't do specifics. So we just need to sit back and just look at the whole system as it runs. Because as we say, oh, politicians are corrupt, I'm sure not every single politician is corrupt. But when you stand back and look at the machinery, sometimes it's just leaning towards the negative. So we're just looking at the NUGS machinery and the students, you know, machinery and how the system is run, and it's sort of leaning the wrong way around.
Okay, thank you. Because NUGS as an association is also, I mean, a credible association. In as much as some of these things go behind the scenes, we would also not want to, I mean, what we call fallacy of hasty generalization, to base on just a certain few sample size and then generalize that all student elections, because some might have been a little different. So now, some of the solutions that
are you saying that you can cite an examples of where people were running for the top office and the big boys did not come into play? I don't think there is. So it's not hasty generalization. It's an accurate generalization. Because I hear now you have like Nooks, you have 2 separate, offices running now, where people don't even agree with each other. So it's not a hasty generalization. It's a realistic generalization.
Well, I'm talking about the extent to which they come in. Sometimes even they come in March when we are going to the next general elections, because at that point, I mean, if I have my student base and then I'm contesting for a position, I think I want.
Do you think they are fit for purpose now? I mean, but with all these pressures that you put on the leadership, the reasons for which you elected them there, it's basically wiped out. I mean, once upon a time, I was so upset with the University of Ghana because their world rankings was, I mean, like thousands, somewhere in the thousands. And you never hear the student agitate that, listen, this, you can't come to University of Ghana, the oldest university, and this is where we are ranking in the world. Whereas, there's some universities in South Africa who are quite up there. But you don't hear agitation from the students because they probably, paid their dues.
I think in some time ago, Nooks has been very vociferous, have been formidable when it comes to fighting the utility bills, brouhaha. Nooks was in the news around that time, but just that recently, due to some form of divisions, that is where, and the truth is, depending on the kind of politician, some politicians enjoy the division in Nooks. Because when Nooks is divided or the student front is divided, then we cannot hold them accountable when it comes to policies that affect students. Then we cannot go on. In the past, we used to, demonstrate a lot. So that's why some people think because we are not demonstrating. But I think we've moved from mere physical agitations to sometimes, negotiations, going to the negotiating tables. Just that those ones do not really come to the news. So that is one of the things that I can say about that. But going to the solution. Some of the solutions that I think, we can bring on board. Isn't it time that we have a capitation-free Congress? Because Congress is necessary because we don't go to Congress only to vote. So if we want to avoid, personal contacts because of the voting issue, then we will not have settled other matters. Because at Congress, that's the highest decision-making body where our constitution and other things, we go and amend and accept and all that. So we go there for many other things. Because in a whole year, we are meeting just once. And as a union cannot be whether meeting physically, but to meet only virtually or, in the IT world. So, of course, we'll be meeting. But can't we have a capitation-free Congress? Can't we work out very well so that we have a sponsored Congress?
I'm coming straight back. And then when we come back, I want to find out that at the moment, what national issue is in front of Nooks, behind the scenes to say, listen, we're not accepting this or we're not accepting that or this has to be tweaked. So they come together and fight that agenda. We'll find out if there's anything like that with the student body. Don't move. Thank you very much for staying, and very interesting, isn't it? I'm really enjoying this conversation. But before the break, I just want to find out what issues have Nooks got in the shelf or in the background that you're hoping to bring forward.
Okay, I would like to take it from the angle of the health students, which is one of the blocks under the National Union of Ghana Students. Over the years, the health students have association has engaged government over certain policies and issues concerning health students in Ghana. Few to talk about the School of Hygiene issue that came in 2015, where about 1,500 graduates, 400 I think 3 years or so, were at home waiting for clearance and posting. We had to come in to engage government agencies. And when it became unproductive through dialoguing, we had to take to the streets, and I think something better happened that after that. And then there have been several issues regarding hikes in fees for College of Health students and School of Hygiene students. The National Health Association has been at forefront working things out. And recently we are looking at delays in clearance and posting of health professionals who have just graduated from the various health institutions in Ghana. We've written to the ministry. We've called on them to give us a clear employment policy. As it stands now, we don't know anything about what goes into employment of health professionals after school. It's at the discretion of the government of the day whether they need you or not. If they think they don't need your services, nothing will be done. So we've put in a request that it's time to develop a policy how to go about our internship and employment, the time frames for employment after school. Everything should be captured in the document. And once again, we've asked through the same document that if it seems like there's excess of health professionals in Ghana, then why can't we, as a nation, look at how we can liaise with other foreign missions and send excess professionals to them? Uganda is doing it. Recently, they were talking about sending 240 health professionals, I think, to Asia or so. So if the government cannot absorb all the health professionals into the system, then this arrangement can be made. This is something we are pursuing, and we've had meetings upon meetings on that. And when it comes to issues of employment, too, we are working on that. The last issue we had with the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Finance is about around 500 plus allied health professionals who have completed from 2013, 2014, and 2015, including those who are ending their national service this year. All these professionals are at home. There's no agency in getting them employed or getting them to serve the purpose for which they are trained. They are just wasting their profession at home. So we are continuously engaging government on how we can find solutions to get all these people cleared.
Richmond, I mean, it's clear that there's so much that government can, take in. Apparently, we are like 650,000 all under the government payroll, and universities are churning up about 60 to 80,000, graduates in a year. And the government can't just say, yeah, every year, give me 60, 80,000 people to go and work. I mean, are we going to break the culture where, like, once you're going to school, there's an opening, and that's why you're going to school? Because it looks as if now you just go, you pick your subject, finish it, and then come back and see if somebody may need your expertise. Can we do the thing of, there's an opening in Joy FM, so I'm going in to study Joy FM. As soon as I'm going there. I mean, I don't know.
Yes, I think one of the things that NUCS has been doing very well in is also organizing seminars. Some of the seminars border on career guidance and some on entrepreneurship. Recently, I think they organized one on entrepreneurship so that people will not just be craving for government work, but would rather with the necessary environmental conditions. Okay, that's when the right atmosphere is created by government, because the government must, of course, come in. The necessary conditions must be there, because even when you have the ideas, when you have what it takes to do it, and yet you don't have the right atmosphere to create your own, it also becomes a problem. So we've been getting some training in the area of entrepreneurship, and some are doing very well, creating their own kind of jobs after school. So it's not been everybody that have gone through the NUCS training that comes and then becomes a burden to the government. But just as I said, it's also been the various governments and then the policies they bring out and its effects on students. Because if a government brings out a policy such that it creates the enabling environment for students, then students will by all means hook to it. But when the necessary conditions are not created, then even with the abilities and capabilities, it still becomes difficult for a student to thrive through excellence.
Last 10 minutes, let's look at the students' perspective of some national issues. Now, the government is embarking on Christian pilgrimage, trying to support some Christians to go to Israel. Stop wasting money on pilgrims and concentrate on your mandate. This is Reverend Asante, who is the chairman of the National Peace Council, Most Reverend Emmanuel Asante. It's unnecessary for government to bear costs of Christian pilgrimage, Apostle Onyina, and then Christian Council rejects government pilgrimage sponsorship. Let me start with you, President. I mean, what would you advise, President? Do you think, look, there's a lot of Christians in the country. Muslims have been, doing pilgrimage for a long time. So what's wrong if a greater majority of the country wants to go to Israel?
The purpose of the pilgrimage, goes to, I don't know whether to encounter God face with face. We're over there, or I don't actually understand the purpose of the pilgrimage. But
that's
unlike
a spiritual journey.
Well, we can take that journey wherever you are. From my basic catechism, I understand even here we have God with us.
Definitely, in this studio there.
Yes.
God is in this
so I don't need to make a pilgrimage to Israel before I can have personal encounter with God. We have to set our priorities right. If I'm sending men of God to Israel just to pray for Ghana or for whatever means, it's going to cost us much money that can employ about 1,200 health professionals to work in our hospitals to save lives. I think that is a worthy cause than to ask people to go to Israel and pray while we can sit at the comfort of our homes, pray, and God will listen to our prayers.
Let me take a quick break, and then when I come back, I'll take Richmond's view on it. Maybe Richmond may say, yeah, why not? Maybe he even wants to go to Israel. Don't go away. Well, tomorrow you don't want to miss PM Express. We are profiling George Yawusu, who's written a book, In Pursuit of Jubilee, and he tells the story about how he fought to get companies to come to Ghana to search for oil at a time when the oil industry said Ghana was a graveyard. It's such an intriguing story. You don't want to miss PM Express tomorrow. But today we're looking at politics, or student politics. Go straight to Cody to find out. Richard, what's your impression with sponsoring or aiding pilgrimages to Israel?
Any leader that makes God his ultimate would always succeed. And any leader that believes that God is the architect of his land and that he's just a mere steward would always go for it. I support this more than 100%. This is because when you go to such places, your faith as a Christian is deepened. Not that God will listen to you only when you go on a pilgrimage to pray to him. He will listen to us anywhere. But just that mere encounter, you have those convincing proofs of Jesus's, rareness, that he came indeed to live and then die and resurrected, and then because of that we are saved. So it will deepen our faith. And one thing about faith, faith forms the moral fabric of every society. If the faith of the people are strong, if they have a strong relationship with their maker, many of the things you do as a nation will not do. Why do we have many people in prison? Why do we have many men doing many things that are abominable, such as the lynching of souls? Is because that person who took part is not really saved. If somebody is indeed saved, according to my belief, that's my Christian biblical belief, then there are certain things one cannot do. Bible, which I read, says that the heart of man is desperately wicked. So if the heart of man is desperately wicked, then until a man's heart is saved, not even the academic I mean, Lawrence, not even the moral destiny of the man can, I mean, save or can we get a better thing? Don't you sponsor people to go and then watch football matches across other nations? I mean, whose distance might be further than the one we are talking about. So what is wrong? If we sponsor people to go and then deepen their faith, which will reduce the number of prisoners, which will reduce the number of people who are involved in prostitution, and most of the
at this time Richard would have wanted to come in, but that's all time will allow us. But what I'm now going to do is going to speak to the producers and see that at least once a month, bring students brotherhood in to discuss from their perspective national issues, because that's what we are leaving them to come and inherit. It's been beautiful. I always leave you with this number before I go. It's 024-366-2001, 024-366-2001. Tantis Fashion. They make my shirts for the show, and as you can tell, the shirt is not bad at all. Give them a call, order yourself one of the shirts. 024-366-2001. But I want to say thank you to Richard, thank you to Richmond. It's been exciting, and I'll definitely get you back on again. To you at home, tomorrow we're back to do this all over again. We have George Yausu talking about In Pursuit of Jubilee. Thank you for watching.